All right, so I'm going to give a talk tonight about the last 8 years that we spent building this same game, Super Animal Royale, and some lessons that we learned along the way. So the pitch for Super Animal Royale is that the animals are adorable and deadly. And I actually showed this 7 years ago at this exact meetup when it was much smaller. So yeah, this is me. This was actually when it was the alpha version of the game. And it has come a long way since then. So 8 years later, we are now at 13 million players and 110,000 people in our Discord. But it took a long, winding road to build towards that. It wasn't all overnight, and so I'd like to tell you a little bit about how we got there. But first, let me just show you what the game actually is.
我的不推上他比出 Super Animal Royale，他叫土法，一起我摸摸 sweet and goodness，我维古库图啊他都是推快 poots，是为库图吧？个推 poots。OK， 那我贴的库喵是个塔塔 ，Curious？ Is it？ Tweet？ OK， 那我贴我复数刷，我的鲁鲁不忘记个夸，一库不得无力推了，还是不无力。不带兔子推不的，对吗？我一步打 Super Animal。Here boo boo you know, wabada, doing one of the two movies. Y'all completely that's what we like. Whoa! That's Lucio Super Louis. Which was what we like. Ooh. Why? Wabada! We pon. We wah. Why? Wabada! We pon. Watch a whoosh. Bar whoosh. Wabada whoosh. We pon. Triaki. Triai. Triakus please, we won! May have won! What bought it we won? What bought it we won? We won! We won! What on a float? We got float! Yeah! Let's do hoot! We won! We won! Wapwa! We! A we not one! Walk! Akapa! We! No we pond we! We beat Super Animal Royale Twooty has wound the Swooshio Super Louis!
All right, so 8 years ago, this is what the game looked like. So I built the game with my co-founder, who I've known since I was 3. We grew up on the same street together. And we eventually decided to quit our jobs to make this crazy animal game. So we started really early to build the Discord community, and I think that's something that for us was born of a fear of trying to fill up 64-player Battle Royale matches, but was very important to actually have anyone around to play the game when we actually launched. So we would do weekly play tests, and we eventually launched in early access in December 2018. So if you know Super Animal Royale, it's actually a free-to-play game today, but we launched as a paid game. And so it started as a paid game with a free demo. And the free demo actually let you play the whole game. So you could just install the game, and it would just lock your cosmetic items so that you weren't allowed to use them unless you upgraded. But that actually helped us a lot at the beginning when we were just an unknown developer, because basically you could, or the way that you get the most support in Steam is through sales. So having a price really helped with exposure. So in May 2019, we shifted from doing updates every single week to a 3-week update cycle, and that was a lot more healthy, but it was still pretty fast. I think one thing we learned is on Steam, you can iterate really quickly because you can just push updates out immediately, whereas if you get into consoles, it takes a little bit longer. So in November 2020, we decided to finally drop the game to free. So as you can see, we did not really take like a straightforward route to, we kind of winded along the way with Super Animal Royale, testing lots of things as we went. But basically, the free version let us just open things up once the game was had a little bit more traction, let us find more players, and there was just no barrier to entry to get your friends into the game. So in June 2021, we launched on Xbox Game Preview, and the biggest thing that changed for us then was that we had to go from we had to basically add a couple months into our development cycle for certification, porting, and so you can't iterate as fast once you go to consoles, but it was also an accelerator. So we actually hit our millionth player right before we came out on Xbox, and then the month later it was 3 million, and it just kind of went from there, grew really fast once it was out on consoles. So consoles can be a big multiplier. But it was much better to do them later when we could, when we didn't have to iterate so fast in early access. So yeah, in August that was PlayStation and Switch we added to the mix, and then in 2022 we were doing quarterly seasonal updates. And then in 2024, we decided to focus on 2.0. And so I'll talk about that a little bit. That's called Super Animal World. It took us 2.5 years, but we actually just released it in December 2025. So basically, from the story of Super Animal World, I wanted to give a few survival tips from our journey. So I thought it was kind of funny to put a battle royale behind this, surviving as an indie. But I think in reality, indies really like helping each other, and so it's maybe not the perfect analogy, but yeah, let me just jump right into it. Okay, so the matchmaking problem. 64 players needed... We needed 64 players to fill up matches, and that was our biggest driver to start the Discord community early. But I really think that it's valuable for almost any game to do that, like to just start building a community early and playtest a lot. So we did playtests every single week, and that was both good feedback for us, but also kind of built up the distribution channel, built up the player base before we actually launched it. The other thing is we tried to build compounding systems. So if you look at a lot of the AAA games like Apex Legends and Fortnite, they'll often do very temporary events or modes, and we always kind of avoided that and thought and focused on building modes and features that we thought that could compound over time, so we could build on top of. So for example, our animal passes, which are our battle passes, they don't expire. And so over time, we build up a bigger and bigger content library of passes that people can enjoy. And we just thought it was more player friendly so that you didn't have FOMO of your pass expiring on you. We also do repeatable holiday events, but we build them in a format so that each different holiday, whenever we add a feature, it just kind of expands on every single holiday after that. And then similarly with our modes, we didn't expand too far into too many different modes. We just kind of invested a lot more resources into fewer modes. Because players can consume content faster than you can make it, so you really need to kind of build for the long term and systems that compound. So choice can also be expensive. So the other challenging thing is not only 64 players per match, we were also trying to start the matches every 2 minutes. And then we had all the different modes that you segment players into and all the different regions. And so when you think of how many different ways you're slicing it, you can end up with, even if you had a lot of players playing the game, not many players per matches. So it's been a very challenging thing to figure out how to optimize that because there's inherent trade-offs. But we have bots that help fill matches, speed up queues, and ease in new players. But really, long-term, you still need enough humans in the game to make it fun. So pretty much you shouldn't try to overcommit to too many different modes or doing too many different things that would slice the players. It's usually best to focus on fewer things and just polishing them up, at least in our experience as an indie. So as a case study, this Super Animal World expansion is the biggest thing that we did since we first released Super Animal Royale. So we spent 2.5 years working on it. It's a persistent social hub that's layered on top of the live PvP game. So it has a lot of content. We were a little bit, got hit by scope creep and took too long with it. But yeah, it has fishing, bug catching, and hamster ball racing. and it's made to turn the time between matches into part of the game. So the idea for it actually came out of emergent player behavior. So we were watching people socialize in our pregame lobbies every 2 minutes, and we actually even noticed some players would join lobbies and just lobby hop. So they would basically chat with players for 2 minutes and then just bounce out of it, go into another lobby, and just not even play the actual game. And so since we saw we had such a social community, we wanted to figure out how to turn that into an actual feature, give them a persistent MMO space to socialize. And they're also like a really good palate cleanser between the PvP. So we also saw players that they would see the art style of the game and expect that the game was more friendly or like Animal Crossing. So we wanted to, and then they get killed in a battle royale and die immediately. So we wanted to give them a little bit more of an easing into the game if it was their first battle royale, and make it a bridge game so that like players who like all different genres can enjoy it together. It also opened up long-term storytelling for us, which we'd only been doing through our animated series, not in the game, and so it gave us a place to tell those stories. But there were definitely some challenges with it too. So different player groups can want very different things. So we obviously building this, we first had a battle royale and then we added in a cozy game. Those are two very different groups of players usually that might not be playing the same game. And so it was, when we were designing it, we basically tried to make sure that you could choose which to invest your time in either one based on your preferences. But yeah, it's not easy when you have groups that want very different things. So when we launched it, the competitive players, they were used to just going to a main menu, hitting the play button, and then hopping into matches. And then they had this whole other world that they wanted to just get around. And so we're getting back to iterating where we're going to make it much more efficient for those players to queue in. It also took 2 years to build while the live game still needed support. And that was challenging. So if you have a live game, people are always looking for more content and can be pretty impatient. So it was a challenge to not just do iterative updates, but to actually spend time doing something bigger. So I think design philosophy is different for every game genre, but our own philosophy is usually start with one really simple mechanic, polish it until the prototype is fun without finished order systems, and then after launch, watch what your players actually do, talk to them. So some of our best ideas actually came from the players. One of the funniest things was we have a banana in the game, and so players would slip each other and say, "Praise Banan," and so a whole Banan cult emerged from the game. So I think the more you can pay attention to your players and talk to them, there's a lot you can learn and like playing with them.